usually, things that have started, I mean, things that you see today in this esoteric world, like astrology, what's another one? Uh, It's another one I was gonna think of, and I just had it on the tip of my Reiki is another one. Usually, today it's nonsense. Yeah, when somebody calls themselves a Reiki master, this is bullshit because the real Reiki people they don't call themselves masters. See, in the Reiki world, there's today. I have to emphasize in today's Reiki uh, scene, if you want to call it that, they see their study as having three levels, and the first level is kind of basics things, and the second level is a little bit more advanced, and the third level is really really they say, this only very few people make it to the third level. Yeah, they say the Reiki masters today. They say that not everybody is supposed to be a Reiki master. That only very few who begin this study will ever make it to level 3 to be a Reiki master. That's what they say. Okay? So it goes. Can you see what I'm saying here? If you're a listener to this show, a regular listener, do you see where I'm heading with this? Do you know why this is bullshit? Because this is linear thinking. Let me explain that really quick, okay? Linear thinking is when you only go in one direction and you say the further you go in that direction, the better you are, and that everybody behind you is less than you. So when you say, I reached the end, I'm at the top now, then you call yourself a master. So you walk around all like as if you're the Pope, and your body language is you're all overly dramatic in everything you do, and you try to speak poetically with every sentence, like saying something like reality begins within and not from the color of your skin. You see what I mean? When they talk like that, or they'll go, reality begins within and not from the color of your skin. Oh. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? They're always overly dramatic in the way they talk. And this is linear thinking. And this violates nature because nature is not linear. Nature is circular. Okay? Watch the plants. For those of you who have plants, you know what I mean. Nature is circular. You really observe your plants during the year, and you notice how they change. Yeah, and then when the spring comes, you see a repetition. This is nature. So in nature, nothing can be above everything else. Everything is in a cycle. Everything is circular. So this means the concept of master violates the laws of nature, which is really ironic because Reiki is about using the healing energy coming from nature. You see what I mean? So that today's people in today people in the Reiki uh, study are full of shit because they're looking at this as a linear way, and nature does not follow a linear way. Nature follows a circular way. Okay? So this whenever you see somebody, that says, "Oh yeah, I'm a Reiki master," and they show their certificate and things like this, you know what? That's not real Reiki. That's bullshit. Because see, real Reiki is non-linear. This is a Chinese technique, Okay, and when this started, they used the energy from nature, and they also observed nature. That nature is circular; it's cyclical. So these people, the Chinese people who developed this Reiki, they never called themselves masters. And they did not divide it into three levels. They just learned and then they would teach others so that they could, help the people. And they saw themselves as servants to the people. But today's modern world and Western civilization, the Western world, the materialistic world, you have non Chinese people who are mostly doing this, and they're thinking in a linear way, and they try to they divide. They think they can divide this way into three levels, and they say, okay, if you once you pass through the top level, you're master. See, that's all linear thinking. You cannot divide things like that. You cannot divide healing energy into, you know, linear levels. Like this level is good, but this level is better, and then that level is the best one. Nature does not work like that. Nature is. And so this healing energy, it just is. There is no different levels to healing energy. It just is there. Yeah? Do you see what I mean? So in the ancient Chinese way, there was no levels and there was no master because the healers, they saw themselves as servants to the people, whereas today the non-Chinese Western way of looking at Reiki is they consider themselves above the people. Yeah. Where do you think I learned this from? See, I do give my sources. I learned this from a woman in Colorado. She People go to her and they try to they're thinking in this money way. They think that if they become Reiki masters, they can charge people thousands of dollars to do their Reiki treatments to them, because that's what the non-Chinese Western world people do. These people who call themselves Reiki masters, they do this for a lot of money. They do it for the money. They don't do it for the people. They do it for the money. And this woman knows that. So when people find her and they go to her and they want her to train them, she says spend a month out here in the mountains with me, and then she's gonna check them out to see how they are. And she does not accept many people. Most of the time, she turns people away because she knows they're materialistic, they're linear thinkers, and they want to be a master. She knows that. See, she herself traveled to China for this, and that's what this man told her: is that don't ever call yourself a master, and don't ever do this for the money. So she lives just like her teacher in nature, away from the materialistic modern world, away from influences of duality. She's living right in nature. Yeah, and so I really lucked out in finding the right person. Yeah, to learn this information from. So what I'm saying is that a lot of these things that you see today, they really had healthy beginnings. Yeah, in other words, they were the real thing. But it's the Western world. Whoops, hang on a second. I'm closing my window. Um, the Western world, they see this and they say, "Oh, this is exciting. Yeah, I bet. Hey, let's do this. Let's do this too, and we'll learn this, and then we'll start a school, and we will teach people to do this, and we'll charge them thousands of dollars and make them masters, so they have this diploma certificate that they can hang on their wall. It'll have a Chinese symbol on it, and we'll write some books, and you know, and we'll this is the way we'll make our money." See that they took something pure and beautiful and real and wonderful, and then they dualized it because they don't see the complete view of reality. They saw something that they know is good, they just don't know how good it was. Do you know what I mean? They know it's good, but they didn't know how good it was. They didn't know the strength of it. And so they took that, and because of their limited vision, because of their dualistic perspective and nonlinear perspective. Oh, no, I said that wrong. I always do that. I mix them up. Let me start this again. Now, what time in the show is this? Okay, it's about half hour, because I have to correct this in the editing, but I will correct it right now too. Um, yeah, I'm trying to think of how to jump back into this to correct this. Okay, yeah, they also have a linear way of thinking. See, this duality and linear thinking, they go hand in hand. Okay, and they because it always puts, in that thinking, it always separates them from others, and they call themselves better than others. Yeah, see, they separate everything into two. That's why it's called duality. They separate, yeah, and they say that, okay, if they're not with us, they're not as good as us, and they're not as smart as we are, and our culture is better than theirs, and our skin color is better than theirs. So this develops things like racism, ethnocentrism, paternalism, and dogma. Our way is the only way, like that. Yeah. You see how many things in this world are this way. Yeah. That's duality, and linear thinking is the backbone to that. Yeah. So when you are dualistic, when you think you're better than others because you know more or whatever, you don't see the fullness of reality. And because you think you're better, you don't know what love is. Because love is non linear. And when people think they're better than others, see, that they don't see the fullness of reality, which means they don't know what love is. So their relationships will always, start good, but they go unhealthy very fast because they don't know what love is, and they don't see the fullness of the other person, or of each other, I should say. So that's duality and linear thinking. Duality, they separate everything into just two components, and then they choose the one they like, and the other one is the enemy. It's not good enough. Yeah, it's dumb. It's ugly. If it has a different skin color, well, then that means that skin color is not good. Yeah, and then they say our way is the only way. See, there's that separation. They separate themselves from others, and they place themselves above others. Even they try to see themselves as above nature, and that's the problem of a lot of things in this world. It comes from dualistic thinking. And the nonlinear under that, yeah, it's right with that. Remember what I said? Let me say it. I'm always saying getting that wrong. The linear way of thinking goes right along with that. Yeah, because remember what I said, in linear thinking they only go in one direction in everything they they think. And then they say the further they go, the better they are. And so when you take that kind of thinking and apply it to something like Reiki, you're you're tainting, you're poisoning the Reiki way. So all these Reiki schools, that offer a study to become a master, this is linear dualistic thinking. Yeah? And you're not really going to get the real thing. All you learn in dualistic thinking is power of suggestion, and that's temporary. It's not it's not a healing. It's not a cure. I tried to say heal and cure at the same time. It's not a here. I meant it. It's not a healing. Yeah, it's not a cure when you are thinking in a dualistic, linear way. Okay, so this is very important to to know. That's why I said in the beginning of Reiki, it was pure. There were no levels, and there was no such thing as the title master. So now look at today's world. Now there's these Reiki schools in cities of all places, in cities where there's no nature. It's ironic. And you have to pay for it, which means if you have the money, that means you're better than others who don't have the money. That's that violates nature right away. Yeah. So why do people need that? Why do people think that they have to pay exorbitant high prices for this? Why do you think they need that? Why do they need the certificate that they can put on their wall that says they're a Reiki master? Why do you think they need that? Because they have low self esteem. Duality creates low self esteem, low self worth, emotional insecurity, and inferiority complex, which means they absolutely need outside validation. They need somebody to tell them they're good because they don't believe they're good, because they have low self esteem, low self worth, emotional insecurity, inferiority complex. You see how it went in a circle here? They're in a cycle that's very self abusive. As a result, they either become an abuser or an oppressor, or sometimes both, depending on the situation. And so that's what they're going to attract. And this is why their relationships don't work. That's not love. Yeah? So when thinking in that way and trying to do Reiki is actually poisoning Reiki. It's actually tainting Reiki. And the people who need these certificates, they feel inferior. They're insecure. They need something that says, oh, they're a master at something. Wow. See, they want people to worship them. They want people to say, oh, you're so wonderful. You cured me. Oh, I give everything to you. Oh, You're my Messiah. And then, that's what that's what they secretly want. But in real Reiki, you have to believe in yourself first. You cannot have emotional insecurity. You cannot have inferiority complex. You cannot have low self esteem. And you cannot have low self worth. Otherwise, you will never know what real Reiki is. Because real Reiki is founded upon the concept of love. And when you're dualistic and linear, like I said before, you don't know what love is. As a result, you don't know what Reiki is either. All these natural ways of healing are founded upon real love. And that cannot be measured. It cannot be divided into level 1, level 2, level 3. There is no master. It just is. And to learn it starts within you. You have to be at peace with yourself first. And that includes coming to peace with your past difficulties so that they become teachers, that there's no more emotional connection, that it's all peace. When you do that, you learn wisdom, knowledge, and you nurture the peace and then you're able to deal with your present difficulties and the difficulties that come to you. And then you realize that difficulties are not a bad thing. They're a part of life. And they actually help you to love you. And now you can love another. Because once you have it, that's because reality begins within. Now you can share it with somebody because of the second concept, like attracts like. See how that works? But when you're dualistic and linear, you don't know what love is. You don't have peace. And you try to deny the difficulties of your past. So because you do that, you don't have peace. That means you are not going to be successful in excuse me. You are not going to be successful in with the difficulties in your present life, which and the future difficulties are going to overwhelm you because you don't have peace, which means you don't know what love is. You see what I mean? That means you have chaos inside. You don't have peace, you have chaos. You have insecurity. You have low self-worth, low self-esteem. And you feel inferior. And guess what? The same concept applies. Because you're this way, you're going to attract somebody who's that way too. That's why your relationships will fail. Relationship cannot fix you. A ceremony cannot fix you. It's you. You're the only one who can fix you by coming to peace so that you love you. Then when that happens, you have your self-esteem is healthy. You have a healthy self-worth. You don't have emotional insecurity. Instead, you have emotional well-being. And you don't have inferiority complex because you're at peace. Now you're ready for love. You're making love. That don't sound right. Your love is being created within you when you do this. And now you can share it because like attracts like. See, these are the first two basic concepts in the universe. Reality begins within, and like attracts like. However you are inside of yourself, this is what you're going to attract. Now, that doesn't mean if you're a baseball player, you're going to attract a baseball player. No, no, that's not. I'm not talking about profession. I'm talking about the way you think. Yeah. So one of you might like uh, um, um, race race car driving, and the other one might all be into farming. But you might think the same, and you can attract each other, fall in love, and live so happily for the rest of your lives. It happens because it's natural, because inside you were the same. Like attracts like. And the same thing works for unhealthy people. When they're chaotic and have no peace, they're emotionally insecure, inferiority complex, low self esteem, low self worth, they have no peace. So they don't know what love is. As a result, they're going to attract somebody who's the same way. In the beginning, it might feel really nice, but as time goes on, it it's it they, they learn more about each other and they realize they don't even know each other because they don't even know themselves. When you do not have peace in yourself, you do not know love and you do not know yourself. You are love. And to know that requires being at peace. That includes being at peace with your past difficulties. So you learn how to be at peace with your present difficulties so that the future difficulties do not scare you because you don't see this as bad. You see this as a part of life, and the result is if you process this in a healthy way, the result is increased love, increased peace. And when you're with somebody like this, your love for each other increases as well because like attracts like. Do you see what I mean? The Reiki concept goes right along with that. And all of this cannot be divided into levels of different degrees, and there is no such thing as a master. Because to divide things into different levels of difficulty or whatever, with the end being a master, this is linear thinking. And that's the backbone of duality. And this leads you away from you, and it keeps you away from love, which means you will never have peace as long as you think this way. So, for all of you who have Reiki certificates or certificates of all these kind, if you have a certificate, you don't know what love is because you are non-linear. I mean, because you are linear and you're dualistic. So all these certificates that you have hanging on your wall, they don't mean anything. Do you think love gives a shit about certificates? No, love doesn't. Love just is. And to be love requires being at peace with all difficulty in your life, from your past, from the present, and from that which is still to come. Then you know love, because that's how you attain and nurture peace. And that's the very same foundation for Reiki. So in the beginning, in the mountains of China, Reiki was a beautiful thing. But when the Western world got a hold of it, the Western world foundation is duality and linear thinking. So when the Western world got a hold of it, let's make a school out of this and charge shitload of money. So they divided up into three levels. Western world really sees things in three. Look at their religion: Father, Son, Holy Ghost. See what I mean? Excuse me. Um, but and then at the top, the Master, God, the all-knowing, the supreme, the omnipotent, the omniscient, Alpha and Omega. You see what I mean? That's all linear thinking. So when Western medicine got a hold of Reiki, they tried to put it in a bottle and imprison it. And it cannot be done. You cannot control love. You cannot control nature, universal laws. The earth is alive. What we do to her, if it's unhealthy, she will restore the balance through storms. That's her healing herself. So when you see what's going on in the world today, she's really healing herself, and it's going to get worse for us. So it's very important to be at peace, so that we are nurturing our connection to the earth too. So we will know where to go to live with the earth, not against, not above. You see what I mean? So in excuse me, in Reiki is in the beginning it was a pure thing. When the Chinese people had it, it was a pure thing. But as soon as the Western world got a hold of it, that's when they poisoned it. So having a certificate, this you're poisoning it too. And you don't know what love is. You're probably one bad relationship after the next. And until you learn what I just said about being healthy, your relationships will continue to be chaotic. They will continue to fail because there's no foundation. There's no foundation of love because you're linear thinking, because you're dualistic. There is no foundation of love. So anytime you try to build something, it will collapse because you don't know how to do it, because you're a linear thinker. And you're dualistic. Sometimes when you're with somebody, being emotionally secure is really important. Anyway, what I wanted to say is that a lot of the things that you see in the esoteric world, they had good beginnings. But when the Western world got a hold of it, they transformed it into something unhealthy, something that doesn't work. And they charge money. Yeah, they do this not because they care for people. They do this to make money. So it's out of selfishness that they do these things like Reiki and tarot and all that, astrology and things like that. They use this in a way that does not work because they're dualistic thinking. They're linear thinking as well. So it doesn't work. Yeah. So in its original form, it was a good thing until the Western world got a hold of it and dualized it by trying to divide it into different levels of difficulty, and then at the end becoming a so-called master. Anytime you see the word master in anything, that's dualistic. It's linear and it's unhealthy. If it's offering you a certificate, it's dualistic and it's unhealthy and it's linear and it violates nature because nature doesn't give a shit about diplomas and certificates. Okay? Now, one more thing I want to say on this is that likewise, astrology, this also had a very good beginning. People today don't really understand astrology. When you say the word astrology, most people say, "Oh, gonna tell me what my life is gonna be, who I'm gonna marry, where I'm gonna live, what profession I'm going to be." That's not what astrology is about. Absolutely not. Real astrology gives you guidance, nothing more. Because in life, there is no such thing as fate. Okay? In real astrology recognizes the same thing. Real astrology says there is no fate. Life is what you make of it. What real astrology does is it makes a birth chart depending on the day and time of day when you were born. And then from that, you can get certain information, and this information is only meant as a guide, nothing more. And if you don't like something, astrology teaches you how to change it. So, in other words, you are the person who forms your life, of how is your life going to be. You are the one in control, not fate, not astrology. All astrology does is guides you. That's all it does. That's real astrology. That's like counseling. That's real astrology. But again, when the Western world in Europe got a hold of this, they changed it into, something you see at a circus or, these sideshows and just turned into nonsense. So most people think astrology is you know, oh, tell me who I'm going to marry, and tell me if I'm going to be rich, tell me if I'm going to be successful. Please tell me my future. See, that's fatalistic. It depends on fate. But real astrology says there is no fate. Life is what you make it. So when you see these people who are advertising themselves as astrologers, most of them are full of shit. They're giving astrology a bad name. Seriously. See, in the Lakota world, we have something like this too. It's a part of our Lakota star knowledge, but we do have something like that. It does work, yeah. But it always have to remember, there is no such thing as fate. There is no such thing as, oh, we were meant to be, we were meant to meet. No, that doesn't that doesn't that's not true, because fate violates nature. Nature is. Fate is fake. Fate is a way to control others, which means When you believe in fate, you're trying to control nature, and nature cannot be controlled. Yeah? So life is just what you make of it, no matter what. So it's up to you. Yeah? You're the commander. You're the captain. And you're also the crew. You're everything. So to have that communication between the captain and the crew requires you to be emotionally healthy. Because if you're not emotionally healthy, you become dualistic and linear thinking. And then you become close minded and you don't see the full beauty of reality. Yeah? So, yes, in the Lakota, in the ancient way, we do have a certain thing that is very similar to what astrology is. But like I said, these are pure things. And it's people who fuck it up. Yeah? It's people who mess it all up. Oh my gosh, I've been talking a long time. I didn't think I was gonna talk this long. Shoot. Dude, I'm having fun here. Geez, I didn't even talk about the foundation concepts of the show. Usually I do that at the beginning, and I just got carried away here. Anyway, this is just things to think about, okay? And see what you come up with too. It's all related, yeah. It's all related. Mitakuyeas, and it's all related. That means everything inside of you is connected, just like you are connected to everything around you. That's mitakuyeas. So how you are inside of yourself, that shows in your your communication to others. It reflects, yeah, in your communication to others. How you are inside of yourself reflects itself through your communication to others. So, if you're healthy inside, your communication will be healthy to others. If you're unhealthy inside, that means you're dualistic and linear, then you're going to be this way. This is why you don't see the fullness of reality. Okay? But when you are healthy, that means you're non-linear, and it means that you are emotionally healthy, and that means you will see more of the reality, and you know love because you have peace, and you see difficulties as a part of life that is part of learning, and learning is good because learning brings blessing.